Hi guys, Drew from Fighting Evolved, back again. Today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, and that's the headbutt. It's also one of the most misunderstood techniques in all of martial arts. I get asked the craziest questions related to the headbutt. One of the questions I hear frequently is if you slam your head into another guy's head, you're both hurt. It's a bit of a neutral situation. I don't get it. Well, that clearly demonstrates the fundamental lack of understanding of the headbutt and what you're actually trying to target. When you're throwing a headbutt, what I'm targeting is the orbital socket of the eye, the zygomatic arch, the thin bone that runs across the cheek, the nasal bones, and the temple. These are my primary targets when I'm initiating a headbutt. The portion of the head that I'm actually using to hit those targets is the top of the frontal bone and the parietal bones. These are very dense structures, so when they meet those softer structures, it's a pretty awesome effect. The second thing I hear a lot, primarily from men, of course, is, they'll say stuff like, dude, if I get in a street fight, I'll just headbutt him. No, you won't. Unless you've spent 100 hours cultivating the headbutt, just like you would a jab, cross, and a hook, and you've put your time in, when you're experiencing an adrenaline dump and some guy's trying to repetitively punch you in the face, if you think you're going to be able to just enter and throw a headbutt, you're out of your mind. Let's take a minute to go back and review some of the footage that you watched early on. We can take a closer look at the body mechanics, the application of the headbutt, and exactly which targets we're accessing. Alright guys, this first one's a split entry. Fulcrum in the elbow, that exposes his temple for the headbutt. Vertical elbow, diagonal down elbow. Last headbutt's going to be directly on the nasal bone. Now here we're using a Filipino Kali entry of limb destructions. My son throws a cross. I'm going to do a pull through gunting, destroy the arm. Back fist the hook, use a series of forearms to come in, which are great for the street, provides a large margin of error, and a headbutt right to the orbital socket. Third one's the clinch. I want to regain the inside track. Whoever controls the inside track controls the knees and the body. So I push the face back, I control his head, I move his body so that he cannot get set to strike. I throw two knees. All he wants to do now, if he's not trained in the clinch, is get his head free so that he can punch again. I know this. I'm going to allow him to lift his head up so that I can smash his entire face on the top of my parietal bone. And now as we move to this last series, as you guys can tell, I'm pulling all of the punches, headbutts, knees, elbows. It's my 16-year-old son in the helmet, and it doesn't afford a lot of protection. Now I'm going to grab here, headbutt the nasal bone. I'm going to pop his head out. He's going to meet the elbow in the recoil. I'm going to hit there. I'm going to headbutt the orbital socket, elbow, and a forearm. Alright guys, I do want to touch on the moral and the ethical implications of using something as devastating as a headbutt, especially in this litigious society that we live in now. When I'm teaching knife fighting, I stress this fact, and I let these guys know, hey, you can't pull a knife and debowel some guy because he bumped into your car with a shopping cart in the parking lot. You need to use the appropriate level of force for the appropriate situation. If Uncle Fred is 19 PBRs in at the family picnic and he gets a little aggressive, you may not want to shatter his orbital socket with a headbutt. You need to understand when you're throwing these techniques, if you're throwing them appropriately, there's a good chance you're going to shatter some of those facial bones. A lot of that will require fixation. They're going to have to go in and plate, screw, and put hardware in to reconstruct somebody's face. We've had orbital socket fractures at our gym. It's not a pretty sight. It's not something you want to do unless the situation really warrants that level of aggression. So please keep that in mind. I'm going to climb down off my soapbox. That's all I have to say about that. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to comment below. You can always reach out to Twitter, Instagram, or reach out to me at fightingevolved.com. Thanks. Train smart, train hard, train for a lifetime.